We went on to Cuba, as I say. We rejoined the children. We lived there for 11 years. And that was really quite an extraordinary time. I mean, they were great years of the Cuban Revolution. They were years before a lot of the problems began to surface and so forth. So I learned a lot there, and I always felt it was an incredible privilege to raise my children there. Then I moved on to Nicaragua. I lived there for 4 years in the early years of the Sandinista Revolution, which was again another great experience, and for a poet, a particularly incredible experience, because of course Nicaragua is a country of poets. And I decided to come home. I think language drew me home. You know, it was really, I needed to come back to New Mexico, to the desert, to the images that fill my work and that are important to my own poetry. And I've never written poetry, my own poetry, in anything but English. And I just longed for that language. I mean, I functioned in Spanish. I speak Spanish with my children, but English was always my writing language, my creative language. And my parents were getting older, and so in 1984 I decided to come home. Didn't have the concept that they could keep me away from my own country, because I always thought of myself as a U.S. as American. I mean, even though those other countries gave me a lot and they live in me in some important ways, I just always thought that this is where I'm from. And it didn't turn out that way. I mean, I came back and I applied for the green card, and immediately, it took them about a year, they denied me. I was just astonished. So they gave me 28 days to leave the country. That was, by that time it was early 1986. But the Center for Constitutional Rights here in New York City decided to defend me, and PEN America defended me, and, you know, Arthur Miller and Grace Paley and Norman Mailer and so forth did a countersuit on my behalf, and you know, it was a 5-year struggle, and I kept losing in each instance. I went to trial, and it was very interesting from the viewpoint of being a poet, because, for example, one of the questions that the government attorney asked me at my first trial in El Paso was, have you ever written a poem in defense of free enterprise? Presumably, if I could say yes, you know, that would be a point in my favor. And they used the magazine a lot against me. You know, they said, you know, you edited this magazine that published Marxists. I finally won an appeal at a level that's called the Court of Immigration Appeals, also in Washington. And it was a tremendous surprise win. I don't think that my lawyers really expected it, and I didn't expect it, because they not only gave me my residency, but they gave me my citizenship back. And it was a good case because it set a precedent for many other cases. And I was very conscious the whole of those 5 years that I was privileged. You know, I had all of the support from writers and artists and all kinds of people. And there were hundreds of thousands of people who are kicked out of this country every day, who have no legal representation, who have no support, who have no money. And so I felt that in a way I was fighting for a lot of people, and that felt good, even when it didn't feel good.